Just after Marcus and I got married at City Hall, intimate photos of him and his secretary were all over the internet, and I was so angry I left the country. 3 years later, I ran into them embracing in a bar. He even introduced her as his girlfriend. The marriage eventually ended. Late that night, he called, saying he loved me and wanted to reconcile. Ethan leaned over and said, "Marcus, you don't mess with a friend's wife." And I later married his brother. Marcus and I were childhood sweethearts. He was 6 years older than me, and I was spoiled and cherished by him as I grew up. When I turned 20, he couldn't wait to take me to get married at City Hall. However, after we were married, he would party nightly, constantly involved in scandals, feeling heartbroken. I went alone to pursue advanced studies abroad. 3 years passed. They say absence makes the heart grow fonder, but for us, that separation led straight to divorce. I returned home after completing my studies, came back from the airport, and slept for an entire day. At 10 o'clock that night, I dressed up nicely and went to a bar. My best friend Chloe saw me and whistled, "Hey beautiful, tonight's on me." By on me, she meant she'd found a few handsome and charming young men to keep us company. Chloe loved to have fun and be social, and I sipped my drink, letting her joke and laugh amidst the playful chatter. A guy at the next table asked his leader, "Marcus, I heard your wife is back. Are you and Tiffany going to take your relationship underground?" A familiar voice rang out, "Who does Grace think she is? If she can't accept Tiffany, then we'll divorce." Chloe heard who was at the next table. Her face fell, and she angrily grabbed a bottle, ready to confront them. I held her back. "Calm down. I'll handle this myself." I carried 2 glasses over. Marcus was startled at first, then raised an eyebrow at me challengingly and leaned down to kiss Tiffany. Tiffany's face went pale, and she struggled to pull away from his embrace, but held her tighter, introducing her to me with a smug grin. "Grace, this is my girlfriend, Tiffany." I felt nothing inside. They say becoming numb is a process, and all my inner turmoil and pain, after Marcus rubbed salt in the wounds for 3 years, had long since gone numb and crumbled into dust. I didn't even glance at Tiffany, calmly handing a glass to Marcus. "Marcus, drink this breakup drink, and we'll get divorced tomorrow." Anger flared in Marcus's eyes, and he glared at me fiercely. "Fine, let's divorce. If we don't, I'm a coward." Ever since I was little, I dreamt countless times. I dreamt of intertwining our arms and drinking at our wedding with Marcus. Little did I know, our only destiny was to drink a breakup drink. I drained my glass and turned to leave. Ethan, who was with Marcus, grabbed my arm. "Gracie, you've had too much to drink. I'll take you home." I quietly looked at him, and in his eyes, I saw compassion and sympathy. "Okay." Our family, the Shen family, and the Du family were old family friends. When I was born, Marcus and Ethan's parents joked with my parents, "We can strengthen family ties." When grows up, she can choose either Marcus or Ethan to be her husband. That was just a joke, of course. Marcus and Ethan were both 6 years older than me. Ever since I was little, I loved to follow them everywhere. Everyone teased me for being their little shadow. Marcus picked me up and kissed my chubby cheek. "Gracie is my little princess." I wished I could carry her in my pocket every day. My chubby little hands wrapped around his neck, and I gave him a smacking kiss on the cheek too. The adults teased me, "Gracie, aren't you embarrassed, following Marcus and Ethan around all day?" I tilted my head and said in a childish voice, "No, I'm Marcus's little princess. If I don't follow him, who else would I follow?" I was an only child, but until high school, Marcus and Ethan protected me like personal bodyguards. It wasn't until after the college entrance exams that Marcus set up an elaborate rose display outside the examination center. He played a song on his violin, Fr. Elise, then knelt on one knee and proposed to me. I said yes on the spot. Love is a matter between 2 people. There's no room for a third. Ethan was no exception. Ethan seemed to vanish from our world. The trio we once were became an intimate duo. For the first 2 years of our relationship, Marcus and I were deeply in love. Marcus had just taken over the Shen then, and he was very busy, but he always reported his whereabouts to me. His phone password, apartment code, and bank PIN were all the date he proposed. He was dazzling, surrounded by countless temptations and beautiful women, but his eyes always remained steadfastly on me. He used his actions to dispel all my doubts and suspicions. The moment I turned 20, he couldn't wait to take me to get married at City Hall. I thought Marcus and I would live out our lives sweetly and happily together. Just a few days after we got married at City Hall, our parents arranged to meet and discuss wedding details. He was on a business trip and rushing back from the airport. My phone rang. I answered. "Hello, is this Mrs. Marcus? Is Marcus's intimate relationship with his secretary true?" My mind went blank. My blood ran cold. With my back to the elders, I, disoriented and devastated, hung up the phone and opened a social media platform. The Shen CEO and secretary traveling trending online was at the top of the list, and photos of him and Tiffany intimately embracing were all over the internet. My heart ached as if cut by a knife, and tears blurred my vision. "Gracie, did Marcus say when H to arrive?" Aunt thought it was Marcus's call. I didn't answer, my hands trembling as I dialed Marcus's number and put it on speakerphone. "Marcus, is your relationship with Tiffany, the secretary, true?" Without a trace of hesitation, his tone was utterly calm. "Yes, it's true, Gracie, but don't worry, she's just a casual fling. I'm just playing around with her. She'll never enter the Shen family. Even if she has a child, it will never compete with yours for inheritance." I felt disgusted, furious, and deeply hurt. The elders exchanged glances. After understanding the whole situation, my mom indignantly pulled my hand. "Gracie, this marriage is too humiliating and demeaning. We're not going through with it. We'll get divorced tomorrow." Uncle and aunt quickly stopped us. They nearly knelt to apologize and beg for our forgiveness. We watched Marcus grow up. We know what kind of person he is, or perhaps it's a misunderstanding. My eyes were red, and my voice choked, and, "You just heard him. He admitted it himself. It wasn't that I wouldn't give him a chance. He chose to humiliate me and my parents in such a way." Aunt then said, "Gracie, even if it's true, hypothetically speaking, he must have been momentarily confused and led astray." Uncle also chimed in, "When he comes back, it'll give him a good talking to, give him a chance to redeem himself." My hands were still trembling uncontrollably. All these years of genuine affection had been wasted on him, yet they wanted me to give him a chance. Why should I give him a chance? A leopard can't change its spots. Infidelity is never a one-time thing. It's either 0 or countless times. I grew up in a protected environment, and I couldn't tolerate the slightest imperfection. It was difficult to continue discussing wedding arrangements. "Gracie, our family's alliance is widely known. If you two divorce now, both our companies will suffer a major upheaval." Uncle's words silenced me. The family had deep roots, so the impact on them would be brief and minimal. But my family's business had failed in its transformation over the past 2 years, and sales had plummeted. Recently, the situation had improved due to the planned alliance. If I divorced Marcus at this moment, my family's business likely wouldn't survive. "We'll see." I relented and pulled my parents away. Soon, Marcus chased me to my house. At my instruction, my parents didn't open the door. He called me, and I answered. "Gracie, she and I were just for show. You're the only one in my heart." "Sweetheart, I didn't betray you, but at many business entertainments, others are surrounded by attractive companions. I couldn't be too different." His voice was gentle and low, just like countless times H comforted me before, but I felt no warmth, only a chilling cold seeping into my bones. "Gracie, you are so pure and good. Those shady places aren't suitable for you, and I couldn't bear to take you there. Tiffany is both shrewd and sensible. She can deal with all sorts of unsavory characters and walk away unscathed." I didn't know if he was shameless, or if I was just unlucky. My innocence and goodness had actually become his excuse for cheating. He always claimed to love my innocence and naivete, but now, those very qualities had become the weapon he used to hurt me. Marcus, can you just be honest? You cheated because you couldn't stand being alone. What the hell does that have to do with me? My voice trembled, partly from anger at his shamelessness and hypocrisy, and partly from anger at myself for being so mistaken about him all these years. Gracie, every man has needs. And you're still young. I couldn't bring myself to. I cherished and loved you. That's enough. Marcus, you're disgusting. I raised my voice, cutting him off. Get out. I have nothing more to say to you. Find a time, and let's get divorced. Marcus's voice deepened. Gracie, don't be stubborn. The family isn't what it used to be. You can't afford this divorce. I don't know when Marcus left. I brought up the divorce several more times on WeChat, but he ignored me and didn't come to see me clearly. He chose to give the matter the cold shoulder. But infidelity was like a thorn stuck in my throat. It couldn't be ignored or wished away. I returned to school and quickly went abroad as an exchange student. Within a few days, the online gossip about Marcus changed to the devoted secretary, who had stood by Mr. Marcus for 3 years, finally achieved her rightful place with him. The writer was clearly not from the upper echelons of society. They didn't know that the true Mrs. Marcus had been destined for and patiently nurtured by Mr. Marcus since she was a little girl. Online gossip columnists began referring to secretary as Mrs. Marcus. Marcus didn't clarify, and I didn't press him, who used to smile and call me my darling wife, that Marcus had already died to me the moment he openly acknowledged his relationship with Tiffany. I threw myself into intense studying, completing both my bachelor's and master's degrees in 3 years. For 3 years, Marcus and I barely contacted each other, but I was never short on news about him, because Marcus, handsome and wealthy, would appear on the trending online lists every few days, and the faces of the women he supposedly played around with frequently changed. One day it was a minor celebrity, the next a renowned international model. Occasionally, when caught by reporters, he would reply in a good mood. Don't write nonsense. They're just friends. Only when Tiffany was mentioned would he just smile without saying a word, neither confirming nor denying at first. When I saw this gossip, it'd still be uncontrollably sad and upset, but with each pang of sadness and sorrow, I gradually became numb. At the end of my first semester studying abroad, Marcus finally called. When are you coming back? I'll pick you up at the airport. His tone was calm, as if the estrangement and void between us for the past half-year had never existed. New holidays with me. At that time, I wasn't sure I could face Marcus calmly. I was afraid I would break down in front of him, and I was also afraid to face the man who was now completely a stranger to me. The of the past decade was so good, which only made the current Marcus seem even more like a scumbag. I didn't know which one was the real him. I only knew that no matter who he truly was, I had to completely detach myself from him. That's enough, Gracie. For so many years, whatever you wanted, I tried my best to give you, and I was just playing a role. Couldn't you be a little more understanding? I was still a bit sad, but then I laughed, exasperated. Marcus, I can't tolerate it. 3 years passed, and my time studying abroad came to an end. I still couldn't tolerate it, but I had gained the courage to confront it, and I was mentally prepared to face all the consequences of separating from him. Marcus stopped smiling. He angrily threw his glass, and with a dark expression, warned Ethan, who was still holding my arm. Ethan, this is between Gracie and me. Ethan, under his sharp gaze, stood firmly by my side. Marcus, from today on, Gracie's affairs are my affairs. Ethan, who had seemingly vanished from my world the moment Marcus confessed his feelings, at this moment, forcefully re-entered my life in a way I couldn't refuse. He grabbed my arm, and I turned and ran with him. Behind us, tables crashed loudly, but we ran without stopping all the way to the parking lot. As the car pulled onto the main road, I clutched my wildly beating heart. Ethan, thank you for helping me out. It had been a long time since I'd seen him this close. As our eyes met, I realized that after years apart, he was even more handsome and charming than before. His deep eyes gazed at me, and for a moment, I was lost in thought. The air in the car seemed to solidify. I could clearly hear my own heartbeat, and his breathing. A horn blared behind us. The light had turned green. He shifted his gaze back to the road ahead. "Gracie, you and I don't need to say thank you. Your affairs are my affairs, and they always have been." He spoke softly, and my tears, stubbornly, blurred my vision. When I got home, my parents were still there. "Dad, Mom, I'm divorcing Marcus tomorrow." My dad's mouth moved, but my mom shot him a fierce glare, and he shrank back, not daring to offer any opinion. My mom nodded. "Go ahead and divorce him. When you were abroad, it was out of sight, out of mind. Now that you're back, he'll eventually bring his women right under your nose." I didn't tell Mom that just now. He was right under my nose, embracing and kissing someone else, then defiantly told me she was his girlfriend. The next day, I returned to work at the Zhao. My father's health hadn't been good for the past 2 years, so I had returned to take over the family business. Before the meeting, I sent a message to Marcus. "Mr. Marcus, let's set a specific time for us to get divorced." We were both busy, and communicating via message saved time and effort. It also avoided unnecessary conflict. However, by the time my meeting was over, he still hadn't replied. I called him directly. He answered quickly. "I'm out of town on a business trip." The divorce was brought up spontaneously last night, and Marcus was swamped with work, his schedule already packed, which was understandable. "Okay, check your schedule and see what day works for us to get divorced." Marcus was silent for a few seconds. "Did say something to you?" I chuckled softly. "Marcus, our divorce is between you and me. It has nothing to do with anyone else." I didn't even mention Tiffany or anyone like her. A man's infidelity is a matter of his own will. Blaming mistresses is pointless. After all, we had grown up together, and I wanted to preserve a last shred of dignity for both of us. Love is not a crime, and neither is falling out of love. "Gracie, is divorce the only thing we can talk about?" I could almost see him gritting his teeth. "Yes, besides divorce, I have nothing to say to you." Did he seriously think I'd confess how much I missed him? I heard his heavy breathing through the phone. "Gracie, I'm doing this for your own good. You can't afford the consequences of this divorce, and I can't bear to let you go." I laughed. "Are you threatening me?" He was silent for a moment. "Sweetheart, don't be stubborn. When I get back, we'll discuss our wedding. If you don't like her, I'll make her leave, and I'll handle your company's problems for you." Over the past 3 years, besides completing my studies, I had also been remotely learning to manage the company's affairs. The company's situation was indeed difficult, but we had already weathered the toughest period. When he didn't get a response from me, he, uncharacteristically, sounded a little pleading. "Gracie, think about our decade-plus long relationship. Let's stop fighting and live happily together from now on, okay?" I couldn't believe he had the nerve to bring up the past and suggest we live happily ever after. Any good days I might have had with him had shattered, vanished, and come to an end the moment he embraced Tiffany. "Mr. Marcus, you and Tiffany have a good life. I wish you both well. Confirm the date and let me know. I'll be waiting." I hung up the phone and immersed myself in my busy work. Thanks to several years of remote management, I quickly got the hang of the company's affairs. Within a few days, my father was able to relieve himself of his duties and go home to rest peacefully. Time flew by. Half a month passed in the blink of an eye. Marcus was either away on business or simply unavailable, and our divorce still hadn't gone through. But he did throw a lot of obstacles in my way in the business world. This made me, already busy, even more swamped. At noon, Ethan came to find me, bringing lunch. I was typing up a proposal on my computer and didn't have time to deal with him. He ladled out a bowl of soup and placed it in front of me. "Drink a bit first to warm your stomach." I glanced up at him. How thoughtful. "So if I keep busy, Are you going to spoon feed me? He ignored my joke. A moment later, a spoonful of fragrant food was offered to my lips. Gracie, open up. My face immediately flushed. No, I was just kidding. I couldn't bring myself to eat it, nor could I refuse. He didn't say anything, just put the food directly into my mouth. What's the big deal? I used to feed you all the time when you were little. As I ate the delicious food, a mix of emotions swelled within me. I suddenly realized that in all those beautiful childhood memories, besides Marcus, there was also Ethan. If I sprained my ankle, Ethan would carry me. When my period started, Ethan would thoughtfully prepare a heat pack and ginger tea, secretly slipping them into my backpack. What are you thinking about? Focus on your food. Ethan still wanted to feed me, so I took the spoon and started eating myself. This food is really good. Where did you get it? I'll have my secretary order it next time. Ethan's eyes lit up, and a hint of deep affection appeared in them. Just tell me. I was a little surprised and stared up at him. You made this? His eyes were deep and beautiful. Yes, I tried making some. You're amazing. Knowing it was Ethan's cooking, my appetite improved, and I graciously devoured every last bite. Then, I was stuffed. Ethan took my hand and pressed a pressure point on my finger joint to aid digestion. When I was little, Ethan often helped me with this. I felt better and comfortably closed my eyes, remaining still. What are you doing? From the doorway, Marcus's icy voice rang out. We both looked over at the same time. Ethan was completely calm, still holding my hand. Gracie ate too much, so I'm pressing an acupressure point to help her digest. Marcus walked in, his face cold. I looked at him coldly. Mr. Marcus, do you have time to finalize the divorce now? Marcus's face was frozen with rage. He glanced at Ethan and stared intently at me as he spoke. Grace, if you are so eager to divorce, let's go right now. I immediately stood up, throwing his own words back at him. Let's go now. If you don't, you're a coward. Marcus's expression was complex, as if he was struggling. It doesn't have to be right now. We can't go empty-handed. I patted my purse at him. Don't worry, all my documents and papers are in my bag. Marcus was stuck in a difficult position and told his assistant to go back and retrieve his documents. Since I voluntarily gave up any claim to property division, the procedures were quick. An hour later, I received the divorce waiting period notice at the entrance of City Hall. Marcus said to me with a grim face, Gracie, I'll give you one more chance. As long as you move into my house now, we won't get divorced, and all of Zhao's problems will be resolved easily. Even at this point, he still thought I was playing hard to get, believing I couldn't live without him. He was dreaming. No need, Mr. Marcus. Goodbye. I took a few steps. Then an email came in on my phone. I opened it. There was no text, only a picture. It was a 12-week pregnancy test report. The sender and the name on the report were both Tiffany. I casually forwarded the report to Marcus. Rapid footsteps caught up to me, and my arm was grabbed. Gracie, listen to me. His face was agitated. It was the first time I'd seen him so flustered. The child was her scheme against me. I'll make her get rid of it immediately. My child. Marcus's child can only be born by you. Hey, I let out a cold laugh. Marcus, you want me to have a child with a disgusting scumbag like you? You are not worthy. The words had barely left my lips when I was pulled into a familiar embrace. It was Ethan. Marcus, you say Tiffany schemed against you? Did she cast some kind of spell on you? That's why you've been with her for so many years. Marcus glared at Ethan, his face dark. Ethan, this is between Gracie and me. Don't interfere. Gracie's misunderstandings and grievances towards me, I'll explain them clearly to her. You're an outsider. Don't interfere. As he spoke, he reached out to pull me toward him. Ethan shielded me behind him, his expression sharp. Marcus, I told you, if you treat Gracie well, I'll bless your union. If you don't treat Gracie well, Gracie's affairs are my affairs. Rage ignited in Marcus's eyes. Ethan, Do you think I don't know what you're up to? Gracie and I aren't officially divorced yet, and you're hugging and embracing her right in front of me? Do you think I'm dead? Ethan's eyes were cold, Marcus. What about you? For the past 3 years, you've been flirting with your lovers. Did you think Gracie was dead? After spoke, he quickly turned his head to look at me. I smiled at him. Don't worry, I let go a long time ago. Ethan ruffled my hair, just like he used to when we were kids. Okay, let's go get some ice cream. We talked to each other as if no one else was there, and then turned to leave. Marcus's exasperated voice came from behind us. Grace, if you still want to save the Zhao, turn back now, and I won't hold it against you. I turned my head and smiled at him. Mr. Marcus, what other dirty tricks and malicious schemes do you have? Bring them on. We haven't officially faced off yet. The outcome is uncertain. After saying that, I linked my arm with Ethan's and walked toward his car. Grace, don't think you can win against me just because Ethan has your back. Well, see about that. I ignored him and got into Ethan's car. Ethan carefully observed my expression as he drove. I smiled reassuringly. I've truly let it go. Ethan hummed in response. At a red light, he handed me a box of chocolate. Want some? I'd eaten too much at lunch and was still quite full. No thanks. I'm still full. I rubbed my stomach as I spoke. Ethan, who had been a little worried, chuckled. Then don't eat the ice cream yet either. No way. I can't do that. When I was abroad, all I could think about was having that ice cream. I've been too busy since I got back, and today I finally have a half day off. I absolutely have to eat it. Ethan clicked his tongue, giving me a helpless look. You can have it, but you need to walk 2 kilometers first, okay? Normally quite lazy, I was forced by him to take a slow walk in Riverside Park, across from the ice cream shop, just to eat. The park required an entrance fee. Ethan asked how much it was. The attendant said, a family package for 3 is $12. I wanted to explain, but Ethan chuckled. For now, it's just 2 of us, the attendant said. Oh, a couple? Then it's $10. Ethan smiled and paid with his phone. I muttered. It used to be $5 for all 3 of us. When I was a little kid, Ethan and Marcus often came here to play with me. Ethan ruffled my hair again. Don't you remember? You're a big girl now indeed. I was a big girl, and a divorced one at that. We walked into the park side by side. I pointed to the carousel not far away. Ethan, look, the carousel is still here. Ethan smiled at me. Want to ride it? It wasn't a weekend, so the park was mostly empty. I was eager to try. Ethan bought the tickets, and we walked past the wooden horses. Finally, he chose a white horse, and I chose a rainbow. After sitting on the carousel horse, I suddenly remembered something. Ethan, there's a photo in my family album from when we were kids. I think you and I rode these exact horses back then. Ethan's eyes held a smile. I thought you'd forgotten. The carousel began to spin, playing the same children's songs as when we were little. Sitting on the carousel horse, it felt as if many happy childhood moments had returned. Riverside Park hadn't changed much in over 10 years. After riding the carousel, we went boating. The boat was a pedal boat. Ethan told me to sit and enjoy the scenery while he pedaled. He even bought a bunch of my favorite childhood snacks while I was in the restroom. I munched on snacks while excitedly looking at the scenery by the lake. I occasionally exclaimed excitedly, Ethan, look. The elephant statues are still there, but why do they seem so much smaller now? Ethan looked at me smiling. Because you used to be a little kid, and now you're a big girl. We played all the games I used to love in Riverside Park. It was quite a workout, but Ethan kept feeding me a pile of snacks. He took many photos. Me happily sitting on the carousel horse, me leaning over the boat to play with the water while eating snacks, and us laughing heartily with our arms around each other's shoulders. He selected these and posted them to his social media feed, and I had no idea. After leaving Riverside Park, we happily went across the street to buy ice cream. One of life's greatest joys is being able to be a happy, carefree child again. Even as an adult today, I had not only half escaped the sea of marital misery, but I also got to be a child again. When we bought the ice cream, I insisted on paying. I handed the ice cream to Ethan. Ethan, thank you. Ethan took it, and I licked my own ice cream and thanked myself. Finally, I had the courage and the ability to break free from this unhappy marriage. Ethan understood everything and simply ruffled my hair. He smiled gently. Once you finish this ice cream, your days will be sweet from now on. We ate and strolled along the street. My phone rang. I answered. Grace, are you that impatient? We're still in our divorce waiting period, and you're already trying to cuckold me? I burst into laughter. Marcus, you call this being cuckolded? Then I've been cuckolded for 3 years solid. How are you going to compensate me? Before, I couldn't be bothered to argue with him, and my own capabilities weren't enough to contend with his, so I kept a low profile and stayed far away. I had to make myself stronger first, so I would have the ability to confront him. Of course, it wouldn't have been impossible to divorce him back then, even at the risk of the Zhao family's business completely collapsing. My parents loved me very much and would definitely have supported me unconditionally, but I couldn't bear to see my parents' lifelong hard work ruined because I had encountered a scumbag, so I chose to retreat for 3 years. Now, I wouldn't say I'm invincible, but I definitely have the confidence to contend with him. Marcus instantly backed down at my retort. Gracie, listen to me. I had my reasons. My reasons? I cut him off with a cold laugh. It's nothing but your pity for me being too young to touch, and your excuses about being an adult man with normal needs, right? Ethan looked at me in surprise. Marcus on the phone also seemed surprised and speechless. Gracie, I couldn't be bothered to waste words on him. Stop talking. I'm hanging up. My mood had been perfectly fine, but his call ruined it. I put away my phone and indignantly pulled Ethan, who was still in shock. Let's go home. Ethan remained silent as he walked me to my building. I told my parents about the divorce, and they turned their heads, secretly wiping away tears. I reached out and hugged them. Dad, Mom, it's my fault for not seeing clearly, for not recognizing his true colors for over a decade. I'm sorry for making you suffer these past few years. The family, though not as influential as the Shen or Du families, was still a prominent family in Harmonyville, but's reckless affairs these past few years were a blatant insult and disregard to my parents. Mom gently stroked my back. Gracie, it's because your dad and I weren't strong enough that you didn't have the confidence to stand up to him. My dad also choked up. I know you endured it and left for 3 years for the sake of the company. With red eyes, I gently pushed them away. Dad, Mom, don't worry. This time, I'm confident I can fight him. You don't need to worry about me. My dad patted my head. Gracie, Ethan is a good kid. You can talk to him more if you need anything. I nodded first. I know he's good. He's like my brother. Then I shook my head. But I won't borrow strength from the Du family to do anything, because that would be no different from relying on the Shen family before. I want to use my own strength to contend with Marcus. That way, I won't be controlled by anyone ever again. Though my parents felt sorry for me, they understood that I was right. If the Zhao hadn't overly relied on the Shen family's support back then, I wouldn't have had to silently endure Marcus walking all over us for these past few years. That night, I arranged to meet Tiffany. Miss Tiffany, you've been with Marcus for so long and haven't even gotten a proper title. I truly sympathize with you. Tiffany's face went green. I sympathize with you too. You've been married to Marcus for so long, and he hasn't even touched you. I smiled indifferently. It was a good thing he hadn't touched me. Otherwise, I'd find it truly disgusting. Miss Tiffany, you don't need to be so hostile towards me. I'm here to help you. I showed her the divorce waiting period notice. Tiffany looked at me in disbelief. You're really willing to divorce him? I nodded, smiling as you said. He doesn't even want to touch me. What's the point of staying with him? This, of course, wasn't my true feeling, but right now, I needed to win Tiffany over as an ally. The important thing was to appease her hostility, not reveal my true feelings. Tiffany was still half believing, half doubting, but I didn't talk about my own affairs anymore. Only said, "You're telling me you're pregnant won't do any good. You should find a way to let Marcus's parents know you're pregnant." I was certain that Marcus would cause trouble during the divorce waiting period, and being pregnant was the best leverage against him. Uncle and aunt came to my house the next day, begging me to give Marcus another chance. I didn't say yes, nor did I say no. I just waited for Tiffany's show to begin. Tiffany actually had some brains. She had been with Marcus for so many years, so getting information on his family's whereabouts was as easy as pie. On the third day after we met, she went for a prenatal checkup and accidentally ran into uncle and aunt, who were there for routine checkups. Marcus was almost 30, and his parents had been constantly pressuring to have kids. Their desire to have grandchildren was through the roof. Now, hearing that Tiffany was pregnant and that I was determined to get divorced, after much thought, the two elders came to my house again. This time, the two elders came to beg for forgiveness humbly. "Gracie, we are truly sorry. It's our fault for not raising Marcus properly, letting him become so unruly, but is pregnant, and the baby is innocent. Uncle and aunt hope you can forgive us and allow this union to happen. I had no feelings for Marcus left long ago, so forgiveness was irrelevant. But my parents' suffering these past few years shouldn't be in vain. Uncle, aunt, I only ask that Marcus publicly apologizes to me and my parents on his official social media account." Uncle and aunt quickly replied, "He absolutely should. He absolutely should. You've endured so much these past few years. It was more than just enduring. It was utter humiliation." Not long after Marcus's parents left, Marcus arrived. I didn't let him inside, instead asking him to wait for me in the yard. When I saw him, I was startled. He was no longer the handsome, refined man I knew. He looked disheveled and utterly dejected. With an unkempt beard, he eagerly reached out to take my hand. "Gracie, we've loved each other for so many years. Can you really bear to abandon me?" I pulled my hand away, stating calmly, "Marcus, don't twist your mistakes into mine. You're the one who betrayed our relationship. You were the first to abandon me. The moment you became intimate with Tiffany or any other woman, we were over." Marcus's eyes were bloodshot, glinting with a fierce anger. "Gracie, do you insist on divorcing me, even if it means becoming my enemy?" I nodded. "Yes, no matter what happens. I am determined to get this divorce." He gritted his teeth. "Grace, you're a sheltered princess. What do you have to fight me with?" I shrugged. "Who knows? Maybe it's just luck." He pointed a furious finger at me. "Fine. I'll wait for you to come crawling back, begging me." Tiffany's persistence didn't deter Marcus from his tactics against me, but I had long been prepared. In the first round, Marcus's company aggressively joined a bidding project that my company was involved in. My company naturally fell short compared to Marcus's. His company even offered a lower price than mine. Everyone believed my company would undoubtedly lose, but on the day of the bidding conference, I unveiled my secret weapon. My company possessed a patent for a new technology that would allow us to complete the project with higher efficiency and quality than traditional methods. Without a doubt, I won. Marcus and I met at the hotel entrance. His eyes blazed with fury. "Grace, you were just lucky yet." These flukes kept happening, as if luck itself was constantly on my side. I faced Marcus 3 times, and each time, for similar reasons, he lost, and I won. On the last day of the divorce waiting period, I appeared at the hotel where Marcus was signing a contract with a collaborator. I addressed his collaborator, Mr. Robert. "I have an even more perfect proposal and a more professional team. Would you be willing to give me half an hour?" Marcus gritted his teeth, glaring at me. "Grace, are you here to steal my business?" I smiled and shook my head. "Mr. Marcus, didn't you do the same thing? If I recall correctly, you called it fair competition. Why is it stealing when I do it? Or are you just a sore loser, Mr. Marcus?" Marcus's eyes were spitting fire. He took a deep breath, suppressing his anger, and laughed at Mr. Robert. "I'd also like to see Ms. Grace's perfect proposal and her more professional team in half an hour." I successfully seized the deal from Mr. Robert, a contract worth hundreds of millions. Marcus stared at me in disbelief. How could you possibly get the AG team to work on this project? I looked at him as if he were an idiot. Marcus, how can you claim to love me? You have no idea what I've been doing these past 3 years abroad, do you? I had spent 3 years earning the favor of an internationally renowned mentor. I had participated in numerous high-profile projects with the AG team, and I had made quite a name for myself in the industry overseas. Yet, Marcus, while claiming to love me, was only concerned with enjoying his carefree life and never paid attention to what I was doing abroad. Otherwise, he wouldn't have lost so miserably. He really thought I, his sheltered princess, had only gone abroad for a few years just to add some polish to my resume and to relax and clear my head. Marcus immediately searched on his phone, and his expression changed slightly. There was plenty of information about me on foreign websites, and photos of me with my mentor and the AG team were easily found. I didn't want to say anything more to him, because I saw Ethan get out of his car and walk towards me. Gracie, how did it go? I linked my arm through his. It was a resounding success. Come on, let's go get some dinner. Ethan dotingly ruffled my nose. All right, what do you want to eat? I'll make a reservation, I swallowed. I want your fish maw chicken. He had made it for me a few days ago, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. He chuckled. Princess, that takes half a day to prepare. I'll make it for you in a couple of days. How about I make something else for you today? I smiled and nodded. Okay, as long as you make it, I'll love it. We walked along, talking as if no one else was around. Grace. A furious shout came from behind us. Chapter 5. Ethan and I both turned simultaneously, seeing Marcus with a dark expression, raising his fist to punch. Ethan pulled me behind him and threw a punch back at Marcus. Ethan, do you have a death wish? Gracie is my wife. Not tomorrow. Neither man backed down, their fists mercilessly smashing into each other. I froze for a moment before lunging forward to separate them. They stopped fighting. Ethan, I'm not divorcing Gracie. Give it up. Ethan was about to lunge at him again, but I held him back and said to Marcus, Marcus, I hope that even if you can't be a good husband, at least you can be a responsible father. Marcus's eyes were full of rage. Was it you who told my parents about Tiffany's pregnancy? I looked at him coldly. Marcus, I couldn't care less about your affairs, and you shouldn't concern yourself with mine. Do we truly have to be estranged forever? Marcus stood rooted to the spot, looking somewhat lost and flustered. I linked arms with Ethan, and we got into the car and drove away. The next day, I arrived at City Hall on time. Marcus, accompanied by uncle and aunt, also arrived promptly, his face dark. The divorce decree was smoothly obtained, and uncle and aunt kept holding my hand, apologizing. I gently pulled my hand away and politely waved goodbye to them. Uncle, aunt, I wish you and your family peace, happiness, and prosperity. Ethan came over, nodded to uncle and aunt, and then linked arms with me, helping me into the car. Once inside, he silently started the car and drove away. I was a little puzzled, unsure what was wrong with him. He had been perfectly fine when he dropped me off earlier, hadn't he? Ethan, I started to say something to break the silence, but he turned on the car stereo. Music filled the air, and my words died in my throat. Fortunately, after 2 or 3 minutes, he pulled over outside a small park. I grew even more curious, but based on my years of trust and understanding of him, I followed him out of the car and into the small park. Just inside the park was a small lake, and the lake was completely filled with red roses. In that instant, I understood. Ethan was already kneeling on one knee in front of me, holding a ring. Gracie, will you marry me? I widened my eyes. How can you be like this? Marriage is a grave, and I just stepped out of one. Are you already trying to push me back in? Ethan looked at me dotingly and tenderly. Then, how about we start by dating, with marriage in mind? Will you be my girlfriend? He had moved into the apartment next door to mine recently, and had been in charge of all my meals. My stomach had been firmly captured by him. but I still retained a shred of my self-restraint. Let's be clear, even if we get married later, I'm not doing any housework or cooking. His face lit up with a smile, and he quickly slipped the ring onto my middle finger. Well, have a housekeeper for chores, and I'll do all the cooking. Just focus on being a princess for life. Ethan and I transitioned from being like siblings to a couple in just half a day. That evening, after having dinner at his place, I thought I was helping him by taking the dishes into the kitchen, only for him to pin me against the counter, kissing me until I was breathless. He helped me catch my breath, then teased me, "Gracie, you're 24, and you don't even know how to kiss." My face flushed, and I used my lips to silence his. Our relationship progressed by leaps and bounds. Both our families were already close friends, and now, it would strengthen family ties even further. As for the Shen family, because of this incident, they had completely estranged themselves from both our families, and, to this day, has never publicly apologized to my parents and me. I no longer hold out any hope for it anyway. Marcus and I were successfully divorced. His affairs no longer concerned me. Ethan and I quickly reached the stage of discussing marriage. Our families consulted, planning to hold the wedding by the end of the year. One late night, I was woken by a call. "Gracie, I love you. Let's get back together." It was Marcus, drunk and tearful. Ethan leaned closer. "Marcus, you don't mess with a friend's wife. I'm giving your own words back to you." Ethan hung up the phone, then rolled over and held me tightly. Sometime later, Ethan and I went to City Hall to get married at City Hall. Coincidentally, we ran into Marcus and Tiffany, who were also there to get married at City Hall. Ethan and I, without consulting each other, both said to Marcus, "What a coincidence." Marcus looked haggard. In just over a month since I last saw him, he seemed to have aged significantly. He stared intently at Ethan's and my intertwined fingers, then forcefully pulled Tiffany, whose stomach was slightly bulging, and stormed into City Hall ahead of us, looking fierce and aggressive. It was as if he wasn't going to get married but to collect a debt. Marcus and Tiffany got their marriage certificate first. I smiled at them. "I wish you both happiness." I had truly let him go. He no longer mattered to me. Marcus glared at me. "Save your fake well wishes." Ethan put his arm around my shoulder. "Honey, it's our turn. From now on, when we see a crazy person, we walk the other way." After and I got married at City Hall, we held a grand wedding. After the wedding, we traveled abroad for our honeymoon. We had a wonderful time and returned home. Upon landing, we were surrounded by reporters at the airport exit. "Miss Grace, what is your opinion on your ex-husband, Mr. Marcus, kicking his new wife, causing her to have a miscarriage at their wedding today?" "Miscarriage?" Ethan and I exchanged bewildered glances. "Sorry. We were traveling abroad and haven't been following domestic news." A reporter then explained to us, "At Marcus's wedding today, his father-in-law and brother-in-law got drunk and started to make outrageous claims in front of the guests, saying that Mr. Marcus had wasted his daughter's prime youth and that he should give the Wang family at least half of his company to compensate for his daughter's losses." Mr. Marcus's face turned black on the spot, and he immediately started fighting with his father-in-law and brother-in-law. Mrs. Marcus went to break up the fight, and Mr. Marcus, unable to control his kick, struck Mrs. Marcus directly in the stomach. There was a pool of blood on the floor, and she was rushed to the hospital, where they lost the baby. I was utterly shocked. I exchanged a look with Ethan, then spoke. "Hearing this news, Ethan and I are both deeply saddened. Furthermore, this is Mr. Marcus's private matter, and it's not appropriate for outsiders like us to comment or respond. We hope Mr. Marcus accepts our condolences and finds peace." Ethan's bodyguard separated the reporters, and we left safely. After the honeymoon, Ethan and I were busy with our respective work during the day, but at night, we couldn't get enough of each other, always sticking together. 4 months after I took over my company, its profits grew by nearly 30%, and then I were told by the doctor that in 8 months, we would be parents. Coming out of the clinic, we ran into Uncle and Aunt, whom we hadn't seen in a while. They both looked haggard and worn. When Margaret saw the prenatal records in our hands, her eyes instantly turned red. Ethan and I invited them to sit at a cafe across the street. It was then that we learned Marcus had divorced Tiffany, at the cost of giving her 10% of his company's shares. But's brother remained relentless, causing a scene at the company, claiming Marcus had caused the death of his nephew. The two were arguing loudly outside Marcus's company when Tiffany's brother pushed Marcus. Marcus hit his head on the stone lion statue at the entrance, collapsing instantly. After being rushed to the hospital, he was diagnosed with a fractured skull and brain nerve damage. The best-case scenario for his recovery was memory loss and a decline in intelligence. The worst-case scenario was remaining in a coma, a vegetative state. Aunt wiped away tears as she spoke. "Gracie, you were so wonderful." Marcus was blind, falling for such a troublemaker. I didn't respond. Even now, she still believed it was someone else's fault. Ethan offered them a few words of comfort, and then we stood up to take our leave. After some time, Aunt sought out Ethan and me again, pleading tearfully, "Ethan, Gracie, if you have time, could you please go see Marcus?" In the end, we softened and went to the Shen family home with Aunt. Marcus was sitting quietly among his Lego bricks, dressed in comfortable loungewear, building with them. "Marcus, look who's here to see you." Marcus looked up, staring fixedly at Ethan and me. Then, with a look of confusion and disappointment, he asked his mother, "Mom, didn't you go call Ethan and Gracie to come play with me? Why did you bring this big brother and big sister?"